All right, let's do a deep dive into something we all know too well, right? Regret. You know, that, ugh, if only I'd done things differently feeling. But what if regret is more than just a bad feeling?
Yeah, you're right on. Psychologists are actually finding that regret is it's a fascinating mental process. And but get
Yeah.
this, it might even play a role in how we make decisions in the future.
Okay, so it's not just me stewing over, like, that questionable haircut from last year.
Yeah.
There's, like, actual science behind this.
Absolutely, yeah. So first, we really have to define like what regret actually is. And it's not simply feeling bad about a past decision. It's about imagining how things could have been different. Experts even call this counterfactual thinking.
So it's like our brains are running a simulation of what if I had chosen door number 2 instead?
Exactly, yeah. And the prevailing theory is that this kind of mental replay helps us avoid making the same mistakes again. Like our brain is, it's trying to learn from the past.
That makes total sense. It's like, okay, I felt terrible when I ate that entire pizza by myself. So maybe next time I'll just have a slice or two.
Yeah.
But is there any proof this actually works? Does regret actually lead to better decisions?
Well, there's a popular theory. It's called the feeling is for doing approach. And it suggests just that, yeah, it basically proposes that that sting of regret, it can actually push us to make changes in our behavior.
So the worse we feel about a past decision, the more likely we are to avoid repeating it, kinda.
In theory, yeah. And there's some research to back this up. Like, for example, there's something called the regret regulation theory. And this theory actually outlines strategies to prevent future regret by improving our decision making.
Okay, regret regulation theory. Hold on, break that down for me. What does that even mean?
Sure, sure. So basically it says there are three main ways to kind of minimize future regret. One is to be more careful, like, about our decisions in the first place, like doing more research, before buying something big, for example. Another is to focus on the good things about the choices we did make rather than, dwelling on what we might have missed out on. And the third way is to just find healthy ways to cope with those, icky feelings of regret, maybe through like talking to a friend or journaling, things like that.
So it's like a three-pronged attack on regret. Smarter decision-making, focusing on the positive, and finding healthy ways to deal with the feelings.
Exactly, yeah. And what's even more interesting is that this ability to learn from regret, it might start very early in life. There was a study done on children, and it showed that even kids who felt regret after making a choice were more likely to switch things up, when faced with a similar situation later.
Wow, so even kids are doing this mental dance of, oops, I messed that up. Next time I'll try something different. That's fascinating. But you said there's some research backing up this theory. Does that mean there are also studies that contradict it?
You're right to be skeptical. Yeah. While the idea that regret leads to positive change, that's popular, it's not always so clear-cut in real life. For example, one study actually found that people who regretted a one-night stand were actually less likely to be in a committed relationship later on.
Wait, seriously? You'd think regret would make you run for the hills, not like jump into another relationship?
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why some researchers are starting to question whether regret truly whether it truly serves the purpose of always steering us towards, those better choices.
Okay, so if regret isn't always a straight path to making better decisions,
Yes.
then what else could be going on?
Well, that's where things are really interesting. Evolutionary psychology, it actually suggests that regret might have evolved differently in men and women, due to the different roles they played throughout human history, especially when it comes to, having children.
Hold on. Different roles in having children. How does that connect to regret?
Okay, so think about it this way, right? Men and women, they've always faced different biological challenges, when it comes to passing on their genes. Women have a much bigger investment. Pregnancy, childbirth, breastfeeding. So they've evolved to be more selective about, who they have children with.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But how does this tie back to regret?
Well, if you apply this evolutionary lens to regret, right? It suggests that men and women might regret different types of sexual experiences.
So are we talking about that classic idea that guys regret the chances they didn't take while women regret the ones they did?
Exactly. And research, it actually supports this. We see a consistent difference between what's called action regret and inaction regret. Women tend to regret things they did, like maybe a one-night stand, while men are more likely to regret things they didn't do, like missing an opportunity for a casual hookup.
Wow, so that old saying really does hold some weight. There's actual science behind it.
It's pretty fascinating, right? Studies have actually shown that this pattern of regret after hookups, it's consistent across like different cultures and age groups. It really does seem to be linked to those deep-seated evolutionary differences between men and women.
Okay, so we've got this potential evolutionary explanation for why men and women experience regret differently when it comes to sex. But we still haven't answered the big question, right? If regret doesn't always lead to positive changes in our behavior, then what's its real function?
That's the mystery researchers are still trying to crack. Some are drawing parallels between regret and other thought patterns like rumination and worry.
Rumination. Isn't that when you just keep replaying the same like negative thoughts over and over again in your head?
Exactly. And worry is that constant feeling of anxiety about, what might happen in the future. These processes, they often feel like they should be helpful, like they're protecting us from harm or helping us solve problems, but they can actually be quite detrimental.
It's like a mental hamster wheel that you can't get off of.
Yeah, perfect analogy. Interestingly, there's a type of therapy called metacognitive therapy that helps people challenge their beliefs about rumination and worry. It helps them see that these thought patterns might not be as useful as they seem. And this raises the possibility that our beliefs about regret, they might be similarly flawed.
So are you saying we might be giving regret too much power? Like thinking it's guiding us when it's actually just keeping us kind of stuck?
That's one way to look at it, yeah. Instead of seeing regret as like a roadmap to better choices, some experts actually believe it might be more of an emotional gauge.
An emotional gauge. What does that mean?
It means that regret might be a way for us to check in with our values and goals, When we experience regret, it could be a signal that something isn't aligning with who we want to be or how we want to live our lives.
Interesting. So instead of just beating ourselves up over past mistakes, maybe we should be asking ourselves, what is this regret trying to tell me about myself?
Precisely. And this idea actually aligns with how relationship satisfaction seems to work. Research suggests it's not just about how happy you feel in a relationship, but also, whether your partner is helping you fulfill your needs and reach your goals. It's about whether they contribute to your overall well-being.
Okay, so both regret and relationship satisfaction might be less about feeling good and more about taking stock of whether things are actually working for you.
Exactly. And perhaps just like with rumination and worry, we need to examine our beliefs about regret and how much we let it, influence our decisions.
So are you saying that all those times we try to avoid regret, like when people say, live life with no regrets, that might actually be misguided? Like if regret is a helpful feedback system, maybe trying to eliminate it completely isn't the best approach.
That's a great point, yeah. Just like, we shouldn't ignore those warning lights on our car's dashboard, right? We shouldn't dismiss our feelings of regret, They're trying to communicate something important.
Right, it's about listening to the message, not shooting the messenger.
Exactly. The key is finding that balance. We don't want to be consumed by regret, but we don't want to completely shut it out either. It's about, learning from our experiences and using those lessons to make more informed choices in the future.
This has definitely given me a new perspective on regret. It's not just a negative emotion to be avoided. It's a source of valuable information. But how do we know if we're really learning from our regrets or just repeating the same mistakes over and over again?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Perhaps it comes down to being honest with ourselves about, why we make the choices we do and being willing to make changes even when they're hard.
And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of regret is a sign that we're actually trying to live a meaningful life.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. After all, we tend to regret the things that matter most to us.
That's so true. This deep dive into regret has been eye-opening. It's way more nuanced and complex than I ever realized.
And remember, we're only scratching the surface here. There's still so much we don't know about how regret works and how it shapes our lives.
Which brings us to another interesting question. If regret is more about assessing our present experiences than changing future behavior, then what does that mean for its evolutionary purpose? Why would we have evolved to feel this way if it doesn't, directly lead to us making different choices?
That's a really great question, and one that has puzzled scientists for like ages. If regret isn't always about directly changing our actions, then what evolutionary advantage could it possibly offer? One idea is that regret might act as a kind of, internal barometer.
An internal barometer. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so think of it this way, right? Our emotions and behaviors, they've been shaped by like millions of years of evolution. And those emotions, that helped our ancestors survive and pass on, like their genes, those are the ones that got passed down to us.
So maybe regret helps us figure out whether our actions are ultimately like good for our survival or our ability to find a mate and, reproduce.
Exactly. It's like regret is a signal that something, isn't quite right. Even if we don't have all the answers, it kind of like encourages us to reflect on our experiences and maybe make different choices down the line. Even if those choices aren't clear right now.
So it's like less about specific actions and more about a general feeling that something's off.
Precisely. And this could explain why we experience regret in like so many different areas of life. It's not just about relationships or big life decisions, right? It pops up in our careers, our finances,
Yeah.
even our everyday interactions.
Like regret is this constant reminder that we're like reaching for something better, even if we don't always know what that better looks like.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. And maybe this constant striving is itself an evolutionary advantage. It keeps us motivated to learn, grow, and adapt to new situations.
So instead of seeing regret as a sign of failure, we should see it as a sign that we're on a journey of like growth and change.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a sign that we're living and learning.
Well, this deep dive into regret has been incredible. We started off thinking it was, just a negative emotion, but now we see it's this complex process that plays a huge role in how we navigate our lives.
And remember, we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much more to discover about how regret works and how it impacts us.
So the next time you feel that pang of regret,
Yeah.
remember to listen to what it's trying to tell you. What is this feeling saying about your values, your goals, and how you want to move forward in the world? Maybe it's not about dwelling on the past, but about using those experiences to create a more fulfilling future. Keep those thoughts simmering, and we'll be back soon with another deep dive.